Today we are doing actually something, we're factoring still in this form, but today we're going to make sure that you know how to do it if my leading coefficient is not 1. Okay, so today we're going to factor the trinomial in the form ax squared plus bx plus c. You can factor the trinomial, GCF, always double check that there's a GCF if you can pull it out. Use factoring to solve real life problems. We're going to start like how we did last time. We're going to show you how to factor by listing, by trial and error essentially. And then I'll show you how to double check with this. It looks with the X that we did last time to be able to show patterns. Okay, so looking at here, we're going to start with A. And we're going to start with the listing of factors. First, double check. Out of all of our terms, can we pull out a GCF? No, there's no coefficient that I can pull out. There's also not an X on every term, so I can't pull anything out. So like how we did before, we are going to sit and we're going to take this first term, and it becomes important that we have this first term, that we pull out and we list all our factors. I know 1 times 6 makes 6. I know 2 times 3 makes 6. Those are my factors. Okay, on 12, I know that my numbers again are 1 and 12. My factors are 2 times 6 and 3 times 4. Now, what was a little different than before is that we are needing, like it was the same before, where I'm needing to add to this middle term. So I need to make it add to -1, right? Because that coefficient is 1. I need the numbers to add to make 1, but multiply to make -12. My numbers, I do have to include. I'm not just, if you got into the habit of just looking at these, we have to include these. So either I'm going to use 1 and 6 and 1 and 12, and I'm going to double check if those, when I multiply, will they make 12? Oh, when I take these and I multiply different terms together, am I going to get -1? If that doesn't work, I'm going to go through my whole list and see if those together make a -1. If we have, and then these will make -1. If I do a combination, again, you're just going through all of it through guess and check to see if it will make it. -1. Now, I do need to specify that since this has a negative on it, one of these terms has to be negative. So either 1's going to be negative, or 12 is going to be negative, or 2 is going to be negative, or 6 is going to be negative, right? Here we go. We're going to list through, and can we figure out a combination? I know that 1 times 1 will make 1. 6 times 12 will make, what, 72? Those can't add to make -1. Maybe we should pick some that are a little closer together, like, because I think my 1 times I could do 1 times 12, and that gives me 12, and 6 times 1 gives me 6. Gets me a little closer to -1, but not quite. Let's try, I think maybe my 2's and my 3's might work better on this one. So I'm going to do 2 and 3. 6. Will 2 and 3 get me there? And 3 and 4. If I do 2, because these numbers are pretty close to each other, and close to each other might get me to 1. So let me try. Will 2, if I take 2 and I times it by 3, let's say a +3, that will give me 6. And 3, and then let's say -4, give me a -12. Those won't combine to make it. So let's see, if I do 2 instead of 3, I do 2 and 4, and that gives me 8. 3 and 3 will give me 9. If I subtract those, I'll get -1. So that means I need my 9 to be negative. So I'm going to choose my, right, because I did the pink one, the negatives. Now, once I have my combination of my factors, that will get me there. I'm going to do my parentheses. My terms that are with my 6, the 2 and the 3, those have to be the first part of my binomials, okay? So I'm going to take, and I need the 2, and we're going to put the x, because my first term has that x squared on there. So I'm going to put my 2 and my 3x. And to double check I did it right, I know that I'm going to have to multiply, right, my first term and my first term and my first and my last. 2x times 3x does give me 6x squared. So we're looking good so far. Then when I did this, I took my 2 and my 2 needed to go to that 4. I want you to notice I don't do 2 times 4 there. I need to put that term. The 4 needs to be on this other binomial. So I'm going to stick that 4 right here. And I needed it to be a positive 4 to get that 8. And my 9, I needed the 3 and the negative. Now, when I factor, you are going to leave it. Do not distribute it again. But to double check yourself to see if you are correct, please double check. You say 2x times 3x makes 6x squared. And 2 times 4 does give me 8x. Negative 3 times 3 gives me negative 9x. Those combine, it does make that middle term. And negative 3. So all of it looks great. Now, please do not think that you're foiling it back out. Your answer is this. I'm just checking to see if it works. Okay, so please always check yourself to make sure it works. We're going to try that again in listing, and then I'll show you the other way if you do not like lists. So I go to my first I look and I say, is there a GCF I can pull out? No, there's no number that goes into 15, no number that goes into 11, and no number that goes into 2, all of them. And they all don't have x's. So now I'm going to list my factors, and I say I know 1 times 15 gives me 15, and 3 times 5. Easy. Ooh, even easier. There's only one pair that makes 2, 1 times 2. So I'm going to list. I notice that it's a positive and a positive here, so I know that all my terms are going to be positive. So I need to figure out what terms are probably going to get me to that 11. To be fair, I'm feeling pretty confident on my 1 and 15 because 15 is pretty close to 11. So let's double check what combination I'm going to do. I think if I do 15 times 1, that will give me 15, right? And if I do 1 times 2, that gives me 2. If I minus those, it would give me close to 11, but that's not quite right. So maybe I should try the other way. Maybe I don't want the 1 and 15. Let's try the 3 and the 5. If I do 3 times 1, I get 3. And then if I try 5 times 2, I get 10. That didn't work, did it? Now I've got to try many different combinations. What if we did 3 times 2 gives me 6. 5 times 1 gives me 5. Ha-ha! We get something that makes 11. So we found ours. As a reminder, we put our parentheses. For my binomial, the terms that are in the front have to go for that first term right there. So we're going to stick that 3. And we have the variable x and 5x. Those are the things that if I multiply together, should make that 5x squared when I FOIL. Then I'm going to take my terms, and I needed that 3 again, the 3 to multiply to the 2. So that 2 has to go on the back of that binomial, the second one. So we're going to put 2, and I need it positive because all our terms are positive. And then my 5 goes here. FOIL again, you would stop here. This is your answer. But please always double check that everything looks right by multiplying and saying, if I do 3 times 5x, 15x squared, and double check that if I did 3x times 2, I get 6x, 5, ooh. I did something wrong. Oh, it's not a 5. See, this is why we double check ourselves. This shouldn't be a 5. This should be a 1. Because that was the number 1 right here. I accidentally looked at that 5. You probably all caught me before I caught myself. See, this is why we check ourselves. Because 1 times 5x is 5x, which does make that 11. So we're good. And that 1 times 2. Beautiful. Nailed it. So this is by listing factors.